excuses to getting a bit stale. Joining me now with reaction, Kentucky Senator Rand Paul. The president blames everybody, everything. If the Tea Party budget was adopted, Senator, correct me where I'm wrong, their watered-down version, cut, cap, and balance, they would have preferred even deeper cuts. That would have met the standard that Moody's and S&P said was necessary to avoid this moment from happening. The Tea Party, if their plan were adopted, we'd be fine today.
It would be funny if it weren't so tragic, but blaming the Tea Party is sort of like blaming the fireman when he comes to put out the fire. You know, a lot of us were elected to go to Washington to put out the fire, to handle the debt, to do something about the debt. That's why we went to Washington. It's why we ran for office. Now they're going to blame the debt on us when we came to Washington to try to fix the mess that they've gotten us in. It's really ludicrous on the face of it, but I think it's an example of really the failure of leadership, that he will not accept responsibility. I think we're getting to the point where he's going to have a failed presidency.
Well, I hate to tell you this, Senator, the presidency's already failed. His economic promises are broke. As Karl Rove was saying, he's run out of ideas at this point. Here's what's frustrating, though. I mean, he got the budgets he wanted. He had both houses of Congress. He got the stimulus he wanted. He got the health care. This is his economy, his record debt, 4 times the worst year that President Bush had. And now he's blaming the Arab Spring and the Japanese earthquake and oil companies and Wall Street and when all else fails, blame Bush.
Well, the other thing about it, you know, the Tea Party is a minority of the minority party. We're not in leadership. We don't control either house. We don't control the vote. The problem they were having passing something in the House is they didn't have Democrats voting for it. It was the president's own party that gave him trouble. In the Senate, when the president's budget was produced, every Democrat in the Senate voted against it. I mean, this is a guy, really, the economy is in death throes right now, and he can't accept any blame or responsibility for it. I'm going to introduce legislation tomorrow that will call for the resignation of Timothy Geithner. It will be a vote of no confidence, and I think really his only chance to turn his presidency around is to get somebody to replace Timothy Geithner, who's failed at every turn.
Can you add Bernanke to the list? Can you? You know, I wish we had a no-confidence system. We're prime minister, but we don't. Here's the problem. Now, I'm looking at what's going on in London right now and the rioting that's taken place here. Now, the rioting's taken place in large part because austerity measures, because their country's going bankrupt. We should be learning from their mistakes, but we're not. And people are out there, they're blaming conservatives, they're blaming the government, they're blaming, quote, rich people, that it's their fault. They've got 16,000 police officers in London to try and handle this, more than they've ever had. And I'm thinking, this sounds a lot like, you know, America 10, 12, 15, 20 years down the road. Because once those promises can never be fulfilled, is this coming to America?
Well, what I would say is the way we avoid chaos, the way we avoid rioting in the streets, is to start gradually fixing the problems. Entitlements are broken, and any honest Republican, Democrat, or Independent will tell you they're broken because there's less young people and we're living longer. You can fix those problems by gradually raising the age and changing the way we do the entitlements. But if you wait 5 years or 10 years, then there's going to be an abrupt end, and that's what's happening in Europe when you have these austere measures where people don't get their checks. That's when there's rioting in the streets. But the way you avoid that is by fixing the entitlement programs now and doing it gradually.
Half the country doesn't pay taxes. 15% of the country now is on food stamps, Senator. And, you know, the chairman of S&P actually said they've upgraded, after a downgrade, 5 countries. The average length of time that takes is between 9 and 18 years. We're not going to be upgraded anytime soon, in spite of congressional, Senate investigations. That's not going to happen. So,
well, let me interject. The thing I would say is that, you know, the stock market has basically given a vote of no confidence to this president. We're not England, so we can't remove him that way. Same with Timothy Geithner. But it is a vote of no confidence that the stock market's down nearly 2,000 points. And it really says that everything they're doing is not working. Everything has gotten worse. Unemployment's gotten worse. Gas prices have doubled. The economy is growing, if at all, at a very anemic pace. Right. We're not going to get out of this until we get a business-friendly administration.
Last question. Is there any movement towards the Mac Penny plan, which we've discussed at length? We'll freeze spending at this year's levels, cut 1% a year, do it for 6 years. Is this maybe the moment where that can take hold in the country and people say, all right, we can live within our means just like the average American family?
Absolutely. And everywhere I go, I'm talking about the penny plan. I've been traveling around Kentucky yesterday and today, and everywhere I bring it up, people are coming up to me and saying they love the simplicity of it, but they love how it also points out that Washington's spending is growing and that everyone else is only talking about reducing the rate of growth, whereas the penny plan would cut spending in real terms by 1% a year, and it would actually work and balance the budget over about an 8-year period.
If we can get enough people on board, we could save the country from what's happening in London and Greece and in Europe. That could happen. Senator, any way I can help you, please let me know. That's an important bill. I think it would help the country.
Thank you, Sean.
All right, coming up next. Our next